Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Saturday, September 20th, 2025. The last few days, a lot of people have been requesting me to look into the David Singer story, where a young woman who'd been missing for more than a year was found dead in his trunk just days before his second studio album with Interscope Records was about to release. And the day that she was found dead in the trunk, to make a long story short, was September 8th, the Virgin Mary's birthday. And that was one day after the anniversary of the shooting of Tupac Shakur, who was on Interscope Records. And of course, in years past, I've covered how Interscope was founded by Catholic Jesuit educated men. Of course, the Virgin Mary's birthday is a Catholic tradition. And just how Catholic Jesuit Tupac's death and the release of the Machiavelli album was. So here we are with the same record label. We're going to talk about the parallels, the greater narrative, the curiosity of her body being found on that day. Something I didn't look into, but it's in the back of my mind is there an Eminem connection here? Because, of course, he has that hit song from his earlier days, about loading his wife into the trunk and dumping her body in the water. The name Rivas means river, so water orientation. There could be a parallel with that, but I'll let you guys explore that one. I'm going to show you everything I found in this. I also want to talk about the plane crash of Brett James in North Carolina that was in the news yesterday. Of course, North Carolina is where Flight was discovered. And we'll see the ritual with the anniversary of Flight being discovered in North Carolina. Also, we had a NFL star who played for the 49ers die on the NFL's birthday. The Super Bowl is going to be in San Francisco. He made his name with the 49ers, wearing 55, a number that goes with the history of the Church of Satan being in San Francisco or being established there. And if you've missed all my work on Charlie Kirk's passing and how important the number 58 is in his death, because, of course, Trump won the 58th election the first time around, and this time he got 58% of the Electoral College. And more recently, again, Charlie Kirk died, whose father helped build the 58-story Trump Tower. Here was a headline I missed the other day. Trump administration seeks $58 million security boost after Charlie Kirk assassination. We'll talk more about that. And, of course, yesterday, Fox News made a big deal about 58 Democrats voting no to honor the legacy and life of Charlie Kirk. Of course, this is all part of the psychological operation to divide the nation. And again, what I educate about is how everything in the news, literally everything in the national news, is a psychological operation. It's a shame more people don't know this. The media has one purpose: to keep you in fear so that you submit to big authority agendas, and also to keep you divided and stuck inside of your regularly scheduled programming. And a part of that programming is racism. And there's the racism code written all over this David story, the TikTok singer who, right before, again, his second studio album with Interscope Records, a missing young girl is found in the body of his trunk. And if I'm not mistaken, his hit song is Romantic Homicide. So think about where that might fit in. And again, it kind of reminds of the Eminem song where he puts his ex in the trunk and drops her body in the river, and he's explaining it to his daughter. Anyway, David, spelled with a number 4, put out his first album in the 4th month, April. And of course, 4 is a number associated with death. If you're new here, numbers, they're so important. The most prominent secret society in America that runs a lot of things, they etch on the temple, all is number. And it's a Pythagoras quote. And Pythagoras was in the study of letters and numbers, known as Gematria and isopsophy. Within English, there are 4 base ciphers of the English language. As you can see, death equals 38 when you just take the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26. Death equals 20 when you take the alphabetic order with numerology applied. So let's start here with 38 and 20. Never mind that 97 is the 25th prime. That's been all over this year, like Charlie Kirk did 97 days after the anniversary of the establishment of Turning Point. But do you see how they have to mention that he's 20 and that he has 3.8 million followers on TikTok at the moment? And there's the Tupac parallels too. Remember, Tupac died on 38 date numerology. We just had Omen, the producer for Beyonce and Drake, announced dead, and his body was found on Tupac's death anniversary. And then the story broke 38 days before Drake's birthday while he's 38 years old. But yeah, 3.8, a lot like 38 and 20. So they just got to put that right in the beginning of this story about death. If you're new here, educated about these things literally thousands of times over the last 12 years. I've been teaching this since August of 2013. At the beginning of my work, some of my earliest teachings were about Tupac's death and the number 38, alongside Notorious B.I.G.'s death and a million others in the hip-hop world and entertainment world. If you are new here, also familiarize yourself with this movie poster, Murder by Numbers, where the E is a 3 and the B's an 8, 3883, when murder's 38. The song Murder by Numbers by the Police came out in 83. The Reflection. Again, the 4 base ciphers of the English language are the alphabetic order, the reverse alphabetic order, and both orders with numerology applied. There's a lot to Murder by Numbers, but again, just to let you know, killing, death, RIP, they all equal 38. There's the song Gematria, the killing name by Slipknot. Gematria equals 38, like English, like Kabbalah. This whole practice of letters and numbers comes from Kabbalah, a spiritual belief system. Within the system, it is believed that God created and controls the world through numbers, letters, and words. Essentially, what we're looking at is people playing God by this Kabbalistic code, and it goes on every day. So you can see that the young girl's body was found on the Virgin Mary's birthday, September 8th, 2025. Notice that was 201 days from his upcoming 21st birthday. If you're new to my work, what I show is the Jesuits and the Masons. They run the show, just like your nation's capitals in the Jesuit Masonic city. There's familiar patterns that you see with both of these orders. The girl's body was found 201 days before his upcoming birthday. You could have also said it was found on the 165th day of his age, where Scottish Rite is 165. The Jesuits and the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry share the motto in Merum de Gloriam, which means for the greater glory of God. But 201 days before his 21st birthday. Notice in the 4 base ciphers, the word Jesuit is 84, 21, 78, 42. She was found in a Tesla. They've done so many rituals with Tesla in 78, including Elon Musk being declared the world's richest man for the first time ever, January 7th, 2021, which was the 78th anniversary of Tesla's death. In this case, the body was found on 42 date numerology, 9, 8, 25, 9 plus 8 plus 25, 42. So, again, all of these Jesuit numbers clearly in the ritual. For the record, Freemason equals 42, Scottish Rite equals 78, Masonry equals 84. We had the ritual earlier this year with Gilbert Arenas' son hurting himself in a Tesla vehicle, completely synced with Elon Musk. Look at this one. Elon Musk, Mr. Tesla, right? This ritual happened 72 days after the birthday because they had to mention that her body was found in a Tesla. They had to use that as part of the marketing, right? That detail's not really that important. Could have just been found in the body. The body could have been found in the trunk of his car, but they got to let you know it was a Tesla. So 72 days after Musk's birthday, Musk is 54 years old. Her body was found on the 251st day of the year, which is the 54th prime. Again, endlessly talking about this pattern of 54 and 72 with Jesuit ritual. Their logo's the sun, S-U-N, 54. The sun moves 1 degree on the astrological wheel every 72 years. Again, this calendar system was implemented by the Jesuit priest Christopher Clavius. The only reason this body was found on September 8th, 2025 is because of the Jesuits, who are the military order of the Catholic Church. Again, the Jesuits have a lot to do with writing the rites of Freemasonry. If you search that on Google now, it'll tell you that that's a conspiracy theory, but if you actually look into it, you'll see it's a fact. You got to be careful of this conspiracy theory stuff. They'll have to throw that label on everything that's true. Anyway, the girl went missing on April 5th. That date can be written 5/4 or 4/5. The Jesuit acronym IHS for Isus Omnium Salvator equals 45. And remember, that's what's inside the Jesuit order's logo, that is the sun. So on this 5/4/45 date, she went missing. And for the record, her name equals 78, like Jesuit, like Tesla. Don't forget how, again, Elon Musk and Trump got united while Trump was 78 years old, when in history, when Tesla died, it was Donald Trump's uncle who did the audit of Tesla's papers, only for Elon Musk to be declared the world's richest man for the first time ever on the 78th birthday of, or not birthday, but death anniversary of Nikola Tesla. And of course, recently he was just passed by Larry Ellison by the numbers. He got past 74 days after Musk's 54th birthday, when Oracle equals 54, and he's the head of Oracle, and Larry Ellison equals 74. This stuff is always ritual because these guys are puppets on the world stage. And notice, David's first album just came out, Withered, on April 25th. And from that day to the body being found was 136 days, which is the 16th triangular number. The way his name is spelled, it equals 16. And remember, we just saw this with Amen. Amen equals 16 and 61, like Tupac. 61 and 16. The Jesuits have existed since the 16th century. He's on this label created by Jesuit-educated men. Again, the Amen body was found on Tupac's death anniversary. This guy has a body found in his trunk the day after the anniversary of Tupac getting shot. If you run it the other way, David's 19, and his new album was supposed to come out on September 19th, but the label delayed it. And by the way, what movie came out on September 19th? One that they put out the trailer for after the Super Bowl, about this Illuminati groomed football star who has to make blood sacrifices to be the man on the world stage. People have reached out to me who've seen the film. This new movie, Him, you guys, where you got to make sacrifices. By the way, September 19th, 2025, just yesterday, the day the new David album was supposed to come out, was a date with 73 numerology, and a date that can be written 19/9, like 199, which is the 46 prime. Again, sacrifice, 73 and 46. Genesis 46 about sacrifice. Ritual sacrifice, also 73. Ritual sacrifice, also 251, like how this girl Celeste Rivas was found on the 251st day of the year. But anyway, and what I've been told about the new movie Him is maybe the nastiest scene in the movie is in a sauna. I haven't seen it myself, so I've just heard from multiple people now. But they show the temperature rising in the sauna, and they show it rise to 201 degrees. And once it hits 201, that's when it cuts to the wickedness. Again, this stuff's really all over the world of entertainment if you pay attention. If you're new here, 201 is super important to the entire history of the Jesuits. It's very important to the Illuminati, which was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. This ritual is large and in charge when you're aware of this information. And again, Order of Illuminati also equals 201. The founder of the Illuminati, who was a Jesuit, died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. And in the original letter and number system Hebrew, 201 has to do literally with illumination. So in the new Illuminati movie about the man groomed to be a star quarterback who has to make blood sacrifices, they got a nice big fat 201 scene. And it does seem that both Key and Pill, who've done a lot of recent things kind of mocking the way the world really is, including rig football, it does seem like those guys might be watching yours truly's work, because it seems like more and more of my stuff is starting to show up in their stuff. And don't forget, recently you had Hollywood put out the movie, the COVID Western, where literally, if you read that script and even what was left in the movie, they took about 10 things from my book, word for word, Number Games. So anyway, that was the Ari Aster film that came out on July 18th. Anyhow, Eddington is the name of that film, by the way. Yeah, so anyway, this David thing, coming back to it. His birthday is March 28th, the 87th day of the year. Go figure that his hit song is called Romantic Homicide. And we'll see what details come out in the days ahead. Is there going to be something about they were in a relationship and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, his birthday is the 87th day of the year, matching the gematria of his hit song. From the day that the young girl disappeared, April 5th, 2024, to the day she was found, 9/8, 521 days, which is the 98th prime number. And I don't exactly know what to say about 98 in this context. I think I'm missing the greater ritual here, but I can tell you that if you spell out September 19th as words, it equals 98, which is the day the album was supposed to come out, which is also the day this Him movie came out, which is essentially about, you know, being big in the world of entertainment and having to make sacrifices, something LeBron spoke very clearly about when he did his podcast with JJ Redick just weeks before JJ Redick became LeBron's coach and the coach of the Lakers. And just to go back in time here to the death of Tupac in light of the founders of Interscope, the same label that picked up David after becoming the TikTok star. And not to mention, at the same time this is all going on, his album was supposed to come out yesterday. Yesterday, the White House announced they had a deal with China to keep TikTok in the U.S. We've seen a lot of strange deaths connected to TikTok. For the record, TikTok has that 86 connection, like blood sacrifice equals 86. So does human sacrifice. And you see the 67 as well, because we're going to be talking about that in a minute with the death of Brett James. Brett James, 67, just like North Carolina, dead in the plane crash. Yesterday's news, reportedly died on the CIA's birthday. But yeah, just to go back in time about Tupac. Remember, Tupac died on Caesar Borgia's birthday, which is where White Jesus comes from. Then they rushed out the Machiavelli album, put it out 53 days later. Like the real Machiavelli was born on May 3rd. Remember, Tupac's mom's death was announced on the real Machiavelli's birthday, shortly after Prince died by the numbers, and Machiavelli wrote The Prince based on Caesar Borgia. But from Tupac's first album being put out with Interscope to his death was 58 months. Again, Tupac Amaru Shakur equals 58, as does Caesar Borgia. Amen, the guy who was just found dead on Tupac's death anniversary, his birth name equals 58. We just covered that days ago. This number is very important to words like secret society, Rosicrucian, Freemasonry. Again, that Jesuit Masonic alliance, Pope Francis equals 58, who became a Jesuit in 1958, who often did the Masonic hidden hand pose. Catholics go, that's impossible. You can't be a Freemason if you're a Catholic. Again, it's a secret society, guys. They keep secrets. So when Tupac died, it was 187 days after Jimmy Iovine's birthday of Interscope Records, Catholic Jesuit educated. 187 is the homicide code. Remember, Society of Jesus equals 187 and 56. And the 56 matters because Interscope equals 56. You mean guys who are from the Society of Jesus? See how it's also 52 like Machiavelli? Again, if you look, Tupac's mom died on May 2nd, but they didn't announce it until the next day on the real Machiavelli's birthday. Again, right after Prince died on April 21st. Machiavelli wrote The Prince, all this ritualism. So, yeah, coming back down, Interscope, again, 56. 89 chapters in the gospel. Tupac died 89 days after Jimmy, after his own birthday. Tupac died 89 days after his own birthday. Interscope Records also 89. Ted Fields, the co-founder, he died 104 days after his birthday. Tupac Amaru Shakur also 104, like Roman Catholic Church. And yeah, so again, we're coming back pretty much to the same thing. We're on the same label. This ritual happens on a very Catholic day, the Virgin Mary's birthday. Again, one day after the anniversary of Tupac being shot, which was September 7th, which was after a Mike Tyson fight. We just had a big boxing match with Tyson ringside as Mr. Crawford became 42-0. If you've read my 2017 book, Letters and Numbers, all the things we're talking about here have been covered, plus the racial code of 42 and how it's often with 59 and 76. Slave equals 59 and 76. That ritual with Crawford with Tyson ringside happened on the 76th day of Mike Tyson being 59. Slavery alone's 42. Anyway, another topic, but I think it's all connected. Just this big boxing match, Tyson, Tupac shot after a Tyson fight. Anyway. So yeah, that's what I got for the David thing right now. And if you want to think about this more, I think there's something bigger with this 98 piece that I'm missing. But no doubt, all by the numbers, and definitely synced up with his entertainment recording career. And once again, another Tesla reference where it's clearly synced to Jesuit puppet Elon Musk. This is business as usual, in other words. And again, just the 42 code, right? This happened on 42 date numerology. That 18th chapter of my 2017 book is about the ritual shaming and murder of black celebrities by the 42, 59, 76 code. The same thing is present right here with this body being found on 42 date numerology. So, and that was the lesser date numerology. The full date numerology that day was 62, where sacrifice is also 62. Again, the album was supposed to come out, but got delayed on this 73-46 date. So you have all these values of sacrifice here. Remember, words like Torah equals 62. In the Torah, it begins with Genesis, where Genesis 46 is about sacrifice. It's the same stuff over and over, rinse and repeat. Not to mention Hollywood putting out a movie about sacrifice in the industry on the same day the album was supposed to come out. Now, Brett James had the big song, Jesus Take the Wheel, with Carrie Underwood, dead in North Carolina. Brett James, 67, like North Carolina. North Carolina, where the Wright brothers discovered flight. Notice this year will be the 122nd anniversary of the first flight coming up on that day. That means we're in the 122nd year right now, or we're at 121 years and change. Notice that this singer's full name, Brett James Cornelius, is 122. Just happens to die in North Carolina as we approach the 122nd anniversary. And with regards to it being 121 years and change, blood sacrifice equals 121 with the alphabetical order, 67 when you apply numerology, just like North Carolina and Brett James. Charlie Kirk just died 331 days after his birthday, the 67th prime. On the tent was the lightning bolt, a symbol of Satan. Satanic is 67. It's funny that the song Jesus Take the Wheel was put out on October 18th. Satan comes to earth in a bolt of lightning in Luke 10:18. But the other thing about October 18th is it is the day leaving 74 days left in the year. Jesus is 74, like cross, like parables, which Jesus spoke in, like gospel, which is the story of Jesus, like Messiah, also like Joshua, which is the English translation of Jesus, also like Jesus Christ, also like George Washington, who has a tomb like Jesus in the nation's capital, the very Roman city, when it's the Roman tradition that's carried on this name, Jesus, the Roman Catholic Church. And if you're not aware of George Washington, they have a mural of him in the clouds like Jesus and an open tomb in tribute to him like Jesus. Masonic is 74, occult is 74, the spelling of Machiavelli is 74, the Tupac album put out on the anniversary of the Jesuits trying to assassinate King James after his death, which was November 5th. And, of course, that's the day of the last election, too. But Tupac also 74. Anyway, Tupac on the cross like Jesus. This in the news around the same time. The Jesus Take the Wheel guy. The point I'm trying to make is this all goes back to the Society of Jesus, which are wolves in sheep's clothing, and blend in the satanic with the supposed Jesus people over and over. Just like Charlie Kirk. Nothing he espoused was Jesus-like. It was more the opposite, but somehow he's going to go down as this Jesus guy just because he said the name Jesus. And this is what a lot of people can't get through their head. You're following people who are cons, who are liars, who are frauds, who pretend to be something that they're not because they know that those groups have been made to be exploited. Religious groups, political groups. Notice the right and the left, neither of them really stand for anything at all, but there are people that market to those groups because they know just there's already a market that's been built. That's why people need to break out of the groups. Religion is empty. Politics is empty. A lot of frauds just come along and use the buzzwords that automatically suck people in from those groups. You see this everywhere if you have eyes to see, which is sadly something most people don't. Anyway, this death, Carrie Underwood, the bigger star, who sang Jesus Take the Wheel with Brett James, the death happened on the 193rd day of her age, which is the 44th prime, kill and execution 44. That's something you see all the time. That song was about to turn 20 years old. He died 1 month to the day of the song turning 20 years old. Death, time, cross, all 20. We just talked about this with David, right? By the way, a lowercase t, which is a cross, is 20. Notice cross is 20, time is 20, death is 20. And historically, the cross symbolized the 4 seasons. And for the record, seasons is 20 as well. So, with regards to dying 19 years and 11 months after, Jesus is the Roman name for Jesus before the J was invented. Jesus is 19, and you see where Jesus is 19? Jesus is 11. 19 years, 11 months to the day. And He died. Brett James died on the 107th day of his own age. Ritual sacrifice is 107. We just talked about this with Charles James Kirk, 107. And that same day, Charlie Sheen had a new documentary out, 107. King Charles was getting a lot of attention, 107. There's been some 107 rituals since his passing relating to Charlie Kirk. But again, all of these things in the news at the same time. King Charles meeting with his son for the first time in 19 months as Charlie Kirk dies on 19 date numerology when he started Turning Point USA in his 19th year of life. And about just everything being like a meshed web, look at what day Brett James was born. He was born June 5th. Isn't that the day that Turning Point USA was created in 2012? So that means that Turning Point USA was created on his 44th birthday. You know, there's a big Jesus theme with that right now. Charlie Kirk was killed on 44 date numerology on a Wednesday, the 44th day of the week, in a shooting which equals 44 with execution 44, 4 years and 4 months after he was married to his wife, Erica, who's now the head of Turning Point, who's making even more money than ever. And again, those lightning bolts on the tent, lightning 44. Remember what we saw with the opening game of the NFL with 44 points and the lightning delay with 4:44 on the clock. The game that began with Spit 44 by Jalen Carter, who equals 44 on Beyonce's 44th birthday, who's Cowboy Carter, who's married to Jay-Z with the 444 album. Is again, they have a lightning delay with 444 on a Thursday night game when that Thursday is associated with Jupiter, the lightning god. Jay-Z, Jupiter Zeus. This past Monday Night Football, the Chargers won the second game of the doubleheader, making home teams 4-4, the team with the lightning bolts. And remember, that was a rematch, or it was a tribute to Super Bowl 37, where the Buccaneers won and the Raiders lost. Bucs won the first game of the doubleheader. Mayfield became 3-7 on Mondays. The Raiders lost the second game. It was all synced with John Gruden, who won Super Bowl 37 with the Bucs, facing his old team, the Raiders. And Buccaneers is also 62, like Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was all synced with John Gruden's 62nd birthday. In fact, it was 29 days after his birthday. In the second game, there were 29 points in the game. Again, all these things are connected. If you don't think they are, again, it's because you're new here. You don't have enough experience. Been showing this stuff for 12 years, how all of this stuff is a web. It's all orchestrated by the Masonic Jesuit cabal. Everything is themed. Everything is numbered. And they pick people who have the same numbers. That's where the phrase comes, your number is up. And don't forget, speaking of just the Super Bowl 37 ritual, next thing you know, Jimmy Kimmel's being suspended at the Masonic Temple when his first episode was literally after Super Bowl 37. And the remarks he got suspended for came on that Monday night after the 37 tribute in the football doubleheader. Here's how sick it was. White quarterbacks went 6-2 versus black quarterbacks for the week. And remember, John Gruden, who coached the Raiders and the Bucs, was suspended or fired from the NFL for racist remarks. Not to mention the week before, in week 1, black quarterbacks were 2-8 versus white quarterbacks. Thus, white quarterbacks were 8-2, and the last game was in Chicago, Illinois. And we're just getting started. There's a million more things to it. Anyway, the other thing that's wild about this is we talked about how Charlie Kirk established Turning Point. You see how Charlie Kirk is 192? All these numbers matter with Charlie Kirk up here. If you're not up on the Charlie Kirk work, go back and watch it. All these numbers are huge in the Charlie Kirk ritual. But we talked about how his name equals 192, like assault weapons. And he founded Turning Point the year that SH happened, in Newtown, Connecticut, where there was a major push for an assault weapons ban. From Turning Point's establishment to the shooting was 192 days later. And now there's another push coming because of this latest incident with guns that's highly divisive. I just said that from Carrie Underwood's birthday to the death of Brett James was a span of 193 days. It was also 192 days later. So, some of these things could be coincidental, but again, I'm making the point. Charlie Kirk just died in this huge 44 ritual, and this guy's 44th birthday was the day that Turning Point was created. What are the odds? What are the odds? And then remember, there was the school shooting in Colorado right after. The school was established in 1944. It's not far from Regis, the Jesuit university where his wife went to school. So, yeah, there's a lot of little interesting elements here, but you want to keep this one real simple. Another celebrity's dead by the 67 code, this time dead in North Carolina, where flight was created just before the 122nd anniversary when his name's 122. And by the way, 122 and 67, I should make the point. Satanic equals 67 and 122. And by the way, when we had the plane crash last year in December on Jake Gyllenhaal's 44th birthday, who played Donnie Darko about a plane crash. The plane crash on Jake Gyllenhaal's 44th birthday was on Dion Dawkins' property, another DD like Donnie Darko. And it was synced with Donald Trump, who tried to buy the Buffalo Bills but was rejected, causing him to run for president. This is all part of the story. I said, if you go back and watch my video from last December, I said, I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of plane crash stories in 2025 because plane crash is 97, the 25th prime. This latest plane crash happened on the 97th day of Trump's age. His birthday is June 14th, and this guy crashed on the CIA's birthday, September 18th. That'd be 96 days later or the 97th day of Trump's age. So I also want to make that point. Because remember, the plane crash last year on Donnie Darko's birthday, it was his 44th birthday, and now we have this 44 parallel with, again, Carrie Underwood and what happened on his 44th birthday. And remember, Turning Point USA, from its establishment date to the shooting of Charlie Kirk was 97 days later. And the phrase everywhere is Civil War. And, of course, the Carolinas were major in the Civil War. Again, this is these people that are doing this. They're into blood magic. They're into high ritual. Does all this ritual sacrifice give them more power? Does it help their plans be fulfilled? I don't have the answers to all this, but it seems like it must because they do it for a reason. There's a method to the madness. So I see how they had to bring up Jason Aldean in the article, too. Don't forget what happened with Jason Aldean. That was back in 2017, the first time my channel was deleted, when I told people all year over and over to circle the Yom Kippur period because there was going to be a major false flag in the U.S., probably the biggest since 9/11, which is exactly what happened. As Yom Kippur wrapped up with the Route 91 Harvest Festival shooting on the day, leaving 91 days left in there with Jason Aldean on the stage. I got deleted a few months before that for the first time, and I was probably on my 10th channel by the time the shooting happened because they just kept deleting me every other day. But yeah, it's by the way, they brought that channel back on September 3rd of this year after 8 years of it being gone, but over half the videos are missing from the channel. There were over 5,000 videos on that channel when it got taken down, and now there's 2,000 and some remaining. And it seems like they made all the views a lot worse too. So yeah, I don't know why they brought the channel back, but a lot's missing, and the views don't look right on a lot of videos. So like, I still remember the video about Stevie Steve. I saw it still there. That video had like 500,000 views within a few hours. Now I look at it, it says it has like 230,000 views. Like, I don't know why they brought this channel back, and I don't know what the hell they did to it, but things look a lot different than they were. Okay. Another death. Again, NFL death. 49ers hosting the Super Bowl. What day does this man die? He dies on the NFL's birthday, September 17th. Notice he's dead at 66, and his name equals 66, right? Remember, in Jewish Gematria, which Derek renamed Latin Gematria, NFL equals 66, right? So on the NFL's birthday, an NFL star is dead at 66. 66 is the 11th triangular number, like football is a game of 11 on 11. Double check something real quick. It was the NFL's 105th birthday. The NFL was founded by a Mason. Masonry is 105. 105 is the 14th triangular number. NFL also equals 14. Dead equals 14. What do they play for in the Super Bowl? They play for the Jesuit Vince Lombardi Trophy. Notice his date of death, September 17th, 2025, to the Super Bowl in San Francisco on February 8th, 2026. It is 144 days. Again, huge number with the Jesuits. Jesuit Order 144. The 49ers now playing Santa Clara, where Gavin Newsom went to the Jesuit school, University of Santa Clara, one of the 27 remaining Jesuit universities. Don't forget, at their peak, the Jesuits had 54 universities in the U.S., and Georgetown was founded by a 54-year-old John Carroll. He also died 313 days after his last birthday. That's the 65th prime number. San Francisco 49ers, 65. He wore 55. San Francisco's the home of the Church of Satan, which equals 55. Remember, Trump runs on Mega, the highest degree of the Church of Satan. On the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan, April 30th, 2011, that's when Obama had Trump for the White House Correspondents' Dinner and told the world that he'd become the 45th president. Think about it. 45th birthday of the Church of Satan, Mega, the highest degree of the Church of Satan. Just think about it. The first tenet of Satanism, it's not to worship Satan, it's to worship yourself, something Donald Trump is an expert at. But yeah, this is just business as usual, you guys. This stuff goes on day after day, year after year. It's why my title the other day of the video was Most Assassinations Go Unnoticed. Here, chalk up another one. Chalk up another one. And yeah, I just did the radio show with Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis, September 16th, and that was after a week of already educating about how big 58 was in the Charlie Kirk ritual, but we spent more than an hour talking about all the 58s in the Charlie Kirk death. I wasn't aware of this headline. I wish I would have. I would have brought it up in the show. This was September 14th. Trump administration seeks 58 million security boost after Charlie Kirk assassination. Yesterday, Fox News, founded by the Republican strategists, had to emphasize that 58 Democrats voted no. Again, just goes to show you how perfectly arranged it all is. Once again, Charlie Kirk's father helped build the 58-story Trump Tower in New York that Trump announced for from the 58th election, where he did a gazillion King James rituals, and the real King James died at 58. This year, Trump gets, or last year, I should say, on November 5th, the anniversary of the Jesuits trying to kill the Freemason King James. Trump gets 58% of the Electoral College. But yes, in Gematria, Utah, death penalty. Those are big topics right now with this. Freemasonry, Rosicrucian, secret society, they're all 58. And Solomon's Temple 58, which has a lot of parallels to Trump's 58-story Trump Tower. And it has a lot of parallels to Epstein dying 58 days after Trump's birthday, when Epstein died during Tisha B'Av to remember the destruction of Solomon's Temple. And it has to do with Trump meeting with the Freemason King Charles 58 days before King Charles' birthday. And it has a lot to do with Jimmy Kimmel getting suspended a span of 58 days from his 58th birthday when he broadcast from the Masonic Temple. So, and again, I mean, just look at, do you remember when Trump met with Putin and they did the Masonic handshake? There he is doing it with Charlie Kirk. You don't think this is Freemasonry? There's the Masonic handshake right there. So that shows you that young Charlie was part of this, and him dying at 31. The prominent degrees of the Scottish Rite are 31, 32, and 33. And by the way, if you add those three together, they equal 96, like Freemason. Some people say at the top it gets satanic. Satanism is also 96. Again, Charlie Kirk had those lightning bolts on his tent, a symbol associated with Satan. Just like how the GOP, the party that most Jesus people are part of in the U.S., they did invert their 5-pointed stars to downward pointing pentagrams in 2000. That's a satanic symbol. The face of your party is running on the highest degree of the Church of Satan and worshiping himself. How many Jesus people are actually satanic people that are blind and can't see anything? I'd say probably close to 90% from my own life experience, even way before Trump. The worst people I've ever known have been Christians. And it's not to say that all Christians are bad, but the very worst people I have ever known have all been Christians, including the man who I tried to help out at my last, or I should say 2 homes ago, who ended up burglarizing and robbing my house. And then he was such a creep. He disappeared out of town. Then he came back after 2 weeks with a brand new truck where he bought the same make, model, color, and year of the truck I had with the money he stole from my house. Supposed Christian guy. So again, what I can see that religion is here to do is to exploit. Again, people don't like to be called sheep, but literally sheep. And if you don't know why they call people who are sheepish sheep, go out to a farm where there's sheep and go stand along the fence and watch what all the sheep do. One comes over and will go, bah, and then they'll all walk over and they'll all start going, bah, bah, bah. This is what they all do. And it's like, this is why they call people sheep, because look at them. They're just all a bunch of copycats. Oh, one person's buying. Now they're all going to walk over and all baa together just like senselessly. It does remind you of humanity. So if you've never had the experience of standing along a fence full of sheep, go experience it and you'll see where the terminology came from. And just look at what's going on YouTube right now. The left sheep versus the right sheep. The left sheep versus the right sheep. And who's the one getting taken down for hate speech? The guy who's not doing any hate speech. The guy who's showing how all this stuff's cleverly orchestrated. So Everyone's talking Civil War. Charlie Kirk, supposedly dead, loaded into an SUV, no report of the hospital. Actually, somebody said they did put out a report of what hospital he went to. You know what? We're going to look at that in real time right now. I want to see if that information's out there because they didn't report any of that the day of, which is normally first details out where he would have been taken. We got things like Marjorie Taylor Greene says he's still alive. And then Trump at 4:40 sharp Eastern time puts out the tweet that he's dead. Like shootings 44, like Trump is the 44th person to be president. Again, that's because of Grover Cleveland's split term, which messed up the count. But yeah, Civil War 97. And they're comparing this to what happened after George Floyd. And they're saying, see, at least the right doesn't just go down and start burning down buildings. Have you ever noticed that George Floyd, look at this, you guys, George Floyd, date of birth, October 14th. Charlie Kirk, date of birth, October 14th. Teddy Roosevelt, date of being shot, October 14th. Remember, Teddy Roosevelt, the youngest VP nominee until J.D. Vance, who was picked in Milwaukee, where Teddy Roosevelt was shot. And that GOP convention was right after the Trump hoax, which came 60 weeks before Charlie Kirk, when Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump equals 60, going with the 60th election, going with Star Trek and Captain Kirk, new season, 60th season being announced the same day. Star Trek that codes 47 in all their episodes. Anyway, and don't forget Arturo Sosa. He was installed as the Superior General on the day leaving 74 days left in the year, October 14th. I might have just misspoke. October 14th is the day leaving 78 days left in the year, like Jesuit is 78, like Scottish Rite is 78, like the Jesuits share the motto with the Scottish Rite in Marum Dei Gloriam, like Trump's Jesuit educated and of Scottish ancestry. But George Floyd killed on Memorial Day, coming out of the Civil War. And remember, they're going to put up the Confederate Masonic statue of Albert Pike in October. You guys, what if they put up the Albert Pike statue? Because they've announced they're going to put it up in October, but they haven't said what date. What if they put it up on October 14th? That would be some serious mockery. Yeah, we'll see what day they put up the Albert Pike statue in D.C., but could they put it up October 14th? It came down after the George Floyd protests. But do you see all the ritualism going on here? Is it making some sense? These guys born to divide the people of America. Remember, George Floyd has these numbers. 65, that's when the Civil War ended. 43, like Civil War. Charlie Kirk's wife, from her birthday to Charlie's death, exactly 43 weeks later. Like I've said, November 9th is going to be a day to watch out for. The 9th anniversary of Trump being called president-elect, the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Again, it'll be 60 days after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Charlie Kirk, 60. Donald Trump, 60. 60th season of Star Trek. If you look into Star Trek, it has to do with World War III as well. So, remember, Albert Pike, Netanyahu came back on Albert Pike's birthday, December 29th, which is also the Lone Star State's birthday. Texas, like Israel's the Lone Star. Israel was created in a major Jesuit Catholic ritual, as we've covered a gazillion times. A lot of people think Israel runs the world. No, it's just part of the Jesuit network. Very obvious when you actually have the They Live glasses like we do. And again, Albert Pike did write that letter about 3 world wars to come. He published it on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th, 1871. Just think about how all of these pieces are coming together. Everybody's out there in the rumor mill. And again, from Erica Kirk's birthday to the assassination, 43 weeks. Assassination 43, just like Civil War. Whoops, Civil War, just like George Floyd. And Charlie Kirk's one of these people that said, you know, George Floyd died from a fentanyl overdose despite somebody being on his neck. And you see how fentanyl's 97, 34, 38. Remember, it happened on the corner of 38th in Chicago. Charlie's from Chicago. Arlington Heights not far away. But you see how Prince is, remember, all this fentanyl business really got popular after Prince died, supposedly from an OD. Prince, 97, 34, 38, like fentanyl. Notice something. Check this out. From Prince's death anniversary, April 21st, 2020 would have been the 4th anniversary of his death, 4th the number associated with death, to George Floyd dying on Memorial Day, and also in Minnesota, 34 days. Isn't that strange? Isn't that strange? Fentanyl 34, murder 34 for his birthday. And one of the last things he talked about was the murder of the Ukrainian woman on the train who was murdered by a 34-year-old man. Murder equals 34 and 79 like Ukraine. The woman's name equals 79. The killer 34. Again, all of this stuff is ritualism. You slip on the they live glasses, which is really an analogy for this knowledge. All of a sudden, you see who's really pulling the strings. And notice, while we get deleted over and over and censored and everyone ignores this, look at what's all viral on YouTube. YouTube takes me down because they say I could be a danger to the community, but then they have all these people from the left and right getting huge views, trying to incite people to hate the other side more. You got the Piers Morgans of the world making millions of dollars in ad revenue annually off YouTube, and all he's doing is bringing the most polarizing people together to clash. You got the Destinies of the world, for example, Jesuit educated little prick. Yeah, he went to the Jesuit school there in Omaha. So, yeah, ask yourself, how does a Destiny become famous, right? This little tiny man, ugly-looking guy, plays video games. 20 years ago, we would have called a guy like him a loser. Today, the word would be incel. How are these people popular? I mean, like, what does Destiny have on a guy like yours truly, for example? He doesn't have a damn thing on me. The only thing is he's part of the system. I'm not. I get deleted. He gets to go on and do real hate speech and make millions off it. That's what people need to wake up to. So, thank you very much, Apollyon. I appreciate you becoming a member. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Apollyon. Thank you. Gematria says, Zach, did you see Trey Reed, a black man, was found hanging 102 days after Mississippi governor's birth? I did not, but I appreciate the heads up. For people who don't get it, the American Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year. It has a lot to do with slavery. Slavery is 102. The slur, the N-word that ends with the ER is 102. A lot of this in history, the 102 thing. And don't forget who the 102 gang is either. It's the Jesuits who republished Art of War and credited it to Sun Tzu, even though there's no proof of Sun Tzu ever existed. He also has an open tomb. Art of War 102, just like World War. And the World Wars have the Jesuit fingerprints all over them. And, speaking of which, Lincoln blamed the American Civil War on the Jesuits. Said they were the biggest promoters of slavery in America. So I'll look into that Gematria sense. Trey Reed. Just so much out there. But yeah, this is more drops in the bucket, more fuel for the fire. Yeah, it's gross, you guys. It's gross how they do this. Mississippi, you got the big movie Mississippi Burning with Samuel L. Jackson. Who else is in Mississippi Burning? Who's in that movie? Wait, am I tripping? Okay, hold on. It's not Samuel L. Jackson. I'm getting my movies crossed. I'm thinking of A Time to Kill. I think that's also set in Mississippi. Gene Hackman, who died in a very bizarre way. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to go back and look because they love to pay tribute to the entertainment they've put out there. William Dafoe's in there too. God, I just covered some of the William. There's so I even the things I covered within the last month. I got the United States of Amnesia Syndrome too. I forget what I just covered with William Dafoe. I'll look more into that, but I appreciate it, Gematria Sense. Thank you again for the donation. Shout out to Oscar Garcia with the big 5. Now, Oscar, I think I saw an email from you of do you get this on the $5 tier? My man, you sent a lot of super chats. You might as well just be on the $20 tier. Then you get everything. And I'll remind you guys. It is a lot better to donate money to yours truly through platforms other than YouTube because YouTube takes a huge percentage. Some of you guys might have saw the night, September 3rd, somebody gave a $500 super chat, something I've never seen before. Other of you guys donated that day as well. There were about $600 and some in super chats, plus what I would have made for ad revenue that day. My net take for that day from YouTube was $220 some. So that means out of $600 in super chats, they took over 50%. And if you do a super chat through Apple Pay, I think the content creator ends up getting like 25% of the super chat. So that $500 super chat might have been through Apple Pay, which means I'd get like 125 of it. Think about how crazy that is. Like these billion-dollar companies need to take from the content creators like this. But I'm just making the point that there were $600 in super chats plus ad revenue, and $225 made it to yours truly. I'm still grateful. I'm just saying when you donate this way, you're donating really the majority to these platforms. And that's why I do show in the description, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. If you guys ever want to donate, that's ways that you can get all of the money to the content creator. But it is the thought that counts. And thank you again to everybody who does do it. What's up, Leper Messiah? Thank you again. He said, you ain't lying, Rick. What's good, people? Pony up players. I appreciate that, Leper Messiah. Shout out to Dale with another Big 10 who's super generous. Always. Thank you again, Rick James, for being a member for 30 months. Appreciate that thought there, Rick James. $1 does add up. And shout out to Logan Thomas. It's been a year since him and I pounded pavement along with his son and Austin out in Portland, Oregon, sharing this knowledge for, what were we out there for, man? We were out there, I was probably out there for 12 hours that day. It was a long time. We were feeding the homeless and everything. Logan Thomas says, work is always great, but with all the insanity, you bring clarity to it all. I appreciate that, Logan Thomas. Leper Messiah got in another two. He said, Zach, your audio got real choppy about 5 minutes ago. I didn't see, well, that was 10:01 a.m., so that was 5 minutes ago. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, sometimes the internet does mess up, but hopefully on the rebroadcast, it won't be so bad. And Dave25 became a member as well. I do appreciate it. I'd say the problem with a stream like this is I'm going over so many things, so many topics, so many numbers. It might be overwhelming to people. Again, reading the posts, going back and watching the video can help bring clarity. It's a lot easier when I just stick to one number and talk about one thing. But you know what? We covered several recent topics here. And I got to get back on the grind, you guys, because it is Saturday, and Saturday is my busiest day of the week. I got to finish all the NFL decoding. We look to torch the NFL again in week 3. We've torched week 1 and week 2. And again, if you guys like taking advantage of the rig system, again, what I promote is stop wasting your money on stupid stuff. Deliveries, food deliveries. I guess you're helping somebody make a living, but really you're just making those corporations make a living because they hardly pay the drivers anything. Instead of wasting your money on stupid stuff, save it. Do smart things with it. And don't become a gambling junkie. But hey, if you got these gambling apps in your state, have a budget of $5 a day to learn how to take advantage of the system and turn $5 into potentially 50, 100, 500 bucks. Something you can do with this knowledge on a fairly regular basis, as a lot of people in this community have done. Oscar, you were asking about how to get the NFL tier. Hey, man, instead of giving super chats all the time, just join the $20 tier and get all the information. But I do appreciate you either way. Ellen DeGeneres is in the news. Do you guys remember what happened to Ellen DeGeneres' girlfriend? Remember when they said she died in a car crash and they showed her on TV in a body bag and she came out of the body bag? Do you guys remember that one? I cannot think of that woman's name right now, but that definitely happened. And you think something like that would have woke up the world? Like, why didn't more people wake up from that? They're reporting that this woman died and everybody saw her resurrect in the body bag on TV. So, one day before being assassinated, Charlie Kirk messaged CNN's Van Joe and detained at Kirk Memorial Site reportedly had gun, knife, and expired credentials inside stadium. You know, everybody should go back and watch my February 2016 video when I explained why Trump would win Super Tuesday and they put him in as the president of the United States to polarize us because the direction of the country was united we stand, divided we fall, and they want us divided. They want a new civil war. They want all this race war stuff. I was talking about all this stuff even before that more than a decade ago. And fast forward to now. And like I continue to say, imagine he is the machine. There's no turning point. He's just regurgitating the same right-wing talking points that Rush Limbaugh and all these other people have for decades. For all you young people who don't know, pretty much Rush Limbaugh is the reality of right now. Rush Limbaugh in the 90s was talking about building border walls, sending Mexicans out of the country, making the country white, et cetera, et cetera. Rush Limbaugh is the legacy of America right now. And, of course, you know, he was another guy who wanted all the drug people in prison, same type of stuff Charlie Kirk was saying when it turned out he was a drug addict himself. So, yeah, there's no turning point from Charlie Kirk. It was just more regurgitation of the same right-wing bullshit. And the point I'm making is his fame didn't do anything positive for the world. I'm just saying, imagine yours truly's work had become as famous and everyone on every college campus was talking about Gematria and seeing through the rig system and seeing every last one of these 58 headlines and everything else and going, man, we got to end this corrupt cabal that runs this nation for real. So anyway, I got to get back to work. Like I said, Saturday's a nightmare day for me. Thank you to everyone who sent super chats, who supports the work, who became a member. And feel free to join us on Patreon and become a monthly subscriber. And you can make a pretty penny off it. And by the way, this knowledge applies to crypto. It applies to the market. The whole game is rigged this way. And if you got your own mind, you can learn the numbers and learn to take advantage. A few months back, we had a young gentleman in this community in his early 20s take some of my teachings about the market, and he called into our sports stream. You never know what's going to get called in the sports stream. He says, Zach, there's this stock right now I got my eye on. I think it's about to blow up. Within 48 hours of his phone call, that stock went over, God, I forget the exact, I'm going to do a conservative estimate. It went ×4. I think it went a lot higher than ×4. It blew up, though, within 48 hours of his phone call. Again, guys, the game is rigged this way. And anyone who tells you it's not, Wilson and his sidekick, Lil Bob, or whatever his name is, notice what they're doing right now, playing into the division. Andrew Wilson's going on Piers Morgan and debating destiny and you know, shouting down Cornell West over this Charlie. All of these people are the agents in the system, contributing to the chaos, bringing nothing important to light, but getting all the attention and money for it. And you guys got to recognize what's going on YouTube. These big channels are part of the system. Andrew Wilson, who literally is like a mental midget, but has somehow gained fame on YouTube just because his wife works for Fox News. They're promoting losers to you to make you a loser. You got to wake up to how it works. If you're all the real people have been deleted and banished from this platform, like yours truly 25 times, I'm just persistent and keep coming back. But you see what they've done to my channel. They've made it so nobody can see anything. And then somehow that one Charlie Kirk video that slipped out, they had to delete and say it was hate speech, even though it was probably the most unifying video about the topic on the whole platform. So anyway, I do got to run. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who leaves a comment after the video post. All that stuff is supposed to help the video reach new people, and I appreciate all who do it. Take care, Truth Seeker. Until next time.